Sup, human race? This is Rttta, and I am Garrett Williamson, your research guide. So this week I decided I was going to talk about The Legend of Zelda. Why on earth am I randomly talking about The Legend of Zelda? I'm also wondering why the heck I'm talking in this voice. Well, I just got back to actually playing Twilight Princess again. I never actually owned the game, sad I know, until about 2 weeks ago. Before that, years ago, I had my own file on my friend's game disc across the street, but they sold it. So then I wasn't able to play the game for a very long time. So finally, I got around to actually getting the game for myself. Honestly, I don't understand why it took me so long to get it. But it just got me back in the mood for The Legend of Zelda. So like I do a lot, when I get interested in something, either for the first time or again, I will go back and just start researching even more and more on the subject. Researching is really actually rather fun for me. I enjoy doing it. So some of these facts actually some of my friends don't even know, and they're fans of Zelda like I am and half of the other people on this planet. So I just thought I'd randomly start with this fact. Not everybody knows the famous comedic actor Robin Williams named his daughter Zelda Williams after Princess Zelda, and I'm pretty sure that's because he loved the series when he had first played it and everything. And because of this, they were both featured in 2 American advertisements for Ocarina of Time for the 3DS. Here's another interesting fact. So for those of you that don't know and aren't big Zelda fans or whatever, GameCube and Wii versions of Twilight Princess are different in the fact that they are mirrored. So one way would be left in the GameCube version, while in the Wii version it would be right. Why did they do this? Well, the game was originally for the GameCube, but they wanted to put it on the Wii as well, right? Well, supposedly the sword is supposed to be the Wii remote, while the nunchuck is the shield or whatever the left hand is supposed to be doing. So, because it's made that the Wii remote is held in the right hand, though not everybody plays it this way. Some people actually play with the Wii remote in their left hand, and I don't understand that. The only reason the game was mirrored for the Wii version is because they decided that since Link is actually left-handed with the sword, they needed to make it reverse and make it where his right hand was holding the sword. Therefore, they just decided to completely globally mirror the whole entire game. Normally, Link is left-handed, but in this game and in Skyward Sword, because of the Wii remote, he's right-handed with the sword. So let's go into some facts of what Zelda holds records for. The original game, the first one released, The Legend of Zelda, is the 4th best-selling NES game of all time. And Ocarina of Time is apparently the highest-ranked video game in history. Because overall, packing together all the reviews on the game, it got like centimeter away from getting a perfect score. So many of you know that Link is actually not always the same Link in every game. Lots of times he's actually a reincarnation. Similar to Metroid, although the games are released in a different order, the actual storyline in the games are different from the release order. Many people, including Zelda fans that I know, and me including, had no clue that there's actually a story connection between each game. Now, there are many Zelda fans out there that know about this connection, but there are also many that don't. Many people just believe that they're just random plots thrown out there, like Mario, let's say. But actually, every game is connected in some way. But let me explain, because the storyline is extremely complex. Extremely. Coming from Wikipedia, this is what they say. Let me read it. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link is a direct sequel to the original Legend of Zelda and takes place several years later. The third game, A Link to the Past, is a prequel to the first 2 titles, and is directly followed by Link's Awakening. Ocarina of Time is a prequel that takes the story many centuries back, according to character designer Satoru Takizawa. It was meant to implicitly tell the imprisoning war from the manual of A Link to the Past. Skyward Sword is then a prequel to Ocarina of Time, and Twilight Princess is set more than 100 years after Ocarina of Time. The Wind Waker is parallel and takes place in the other timeline branch more than a century after the adult era of Ocarina of Time. Phantom Hourglass is a continuation, sorry I can't talk today, of the story from The Wind Waker, and is followed by Spirit Tracks, which is set about 100 years later on a supercontinent far away from the setting of The Wind Waker. At the time of its release, Four Swords for the Game Boy Advance was considered the oldest tale in the series chronology. Again, can't say anything today. With Four Swords Adventures said sometime after its events. The Minish Cap precedes the two games, telling of the origins of villain Rttta. See, I'm not even big enough of a fan to even know how to say that villain's name. And the creation of the Four Sword. Nintendo's 2011 timeline announcement subsequently posits that following Ocarina of Time, the timeline splits into 3 alternate routes. In one, Link fails to defeat Ganon, leading into A Link to the Past, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages, Link's Awakening, The Legend of Zelda, and Adventure of Link. In the second and third, Link is successful, leading to a timeline split between his childhood and adulthood. His childhood continues with Majora's Mask, followed by Twilight Princess and Four Swords Adventures. The timeline from his adult life continues into Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. So, to put it as simple as possible, which is still really long to explain, if you did not understand all of that, let me use my translation to possibly help you out. Surprisingly, the latest released game, Skyward Sword, is actually the first in the storyline, probably taking place centuries if not thousands of years before, you know, everything else. The way I read the timeline, I'm picturing it that heaven and earth in this scenario were created not too long before this story even happened, but I could very well be wrong. That is not confirmed information. The reason it is much different from other games, as lots of people like to say, is just because it's the very first one. Lots of things didn't even come into the scene. Ganondorf, for one, wasn't even born, let's say. He was completely out of the scenario at this time, had no part in it, wasn't even existent. And, as noticed, Hyrule is not seen in the game, but the reason is that it is yet to be established. See, this is how old the game is. Hyrule hasn't even been established, it hasn't even been founded yet. The city isn't even there. So then we keep on going. The next game in the storyline is the Minish Cap. Four Swords is then the next game after that one. After Four Swords, Ocarina of Time is the next game in the storyline. So then Ocarina of Time leads into 3 different branches as said by Wikipedia. And let me start with this one. If the hero of time, aka Link, is defeated by Ganondorf despite his efforts, the story leads to a whole other line, a whole other branch, list of video games. It starts with A Link to the Past. Next on this branch is Oracle of Seasons and then Oracle of Ages. After that is Link's Awakening. Then comes the original game, the very first one released, The Legend of Zelda. And then after this comes, as previously said, the direct sequel, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. And then there's 2 other branches. There's the side where Link defeats Ganon and then returns back to a child, which creates the Child Era, which leads to Majora's Mask, which is basically a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time anyway. Then comes Twilight Princess some years later. Then there's Four Swords Adventures, which takes place after Twilight Princess. And then on the adult side, or the adult era of this whole entire timeline, being connected to Ocarina of Time, let me remind you, since this is just the Wind Waker falls into place. Then comes the Phantom Hourglass. Then the final game in this branch of the storyline, Spirit Tracks. Whew, I think I'm out of breath. If my words are still confusing you, even after I explain that, like words confuse me like all the time, I am normally off better and understand more when I see something visual, like an actual tree of exactly how everything is put together. That always helps me, and if that helps you out, then I'll link in the description below for a visual picture with even the video game pictures to make you notice, you know, where you are when you're reading the timeline. So yeah, ridiculous timeline, but it's really clever. It's genius. It's honestly genius. Like, it's actually sort of influential to me when I think of making up a storyline for myself. So going into the future of this series, Nintendo has actually hinted that they are working on an HD Wii U Legend of Zelda game. They also confirmed that an original Legend of Zelda title will be for the 3DS. To add on to this, they are actually also considering remaking Majora's Mask. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, now I'm going to reach the question of the week, as if I am almost sure, unless I have heavily edited this, that this is probably almost, if not over 10 minutes by now. So the question of this week has to do with the Majora's Mask remake consideration by Nintendo. Answer in the comments section down below. And remember, you can request what I talk about next week. I mean, I haven't gotten any requests for a while. That sort of was going on. I think people are just listening to me saying that those same words, the same sentence over and over again. Request what I talk about next week. You don't have to, but I'd love it. I mean, it makes it easier for me and Chase if we know something that we can talk about next week. Also, ask us a question. I mean, anything. And let me add this in. I didn't make this clear. The question doesn't have to be about me. It doesn't have to be what's your favorite video game or whatever. I mean, the question can literally be asking about something else. For example, considering what we've been talking about this week, let's just say that a question could be, do you know what new Legend of Zelda games are coming out? Or, I mean, it could even be like, where is everyone? How's Michael Phelps doing in the Olympics? It does not have to be about me or Chase. The questions can be about just about anything as long as it's an interrogative sentence. So yes, remember that. Remember, just comment on any of that down below. Smash that like button. I've told you this many times before, but smashing it will do you more good than clicking it. Most importantly, to me at least, subscribe. And you know, speaking of all this Legend of Zelda talk, my very good YouTube friend and friend in person, Josiah Clark, is actually doing a walkthrough series of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And it's actually both helpful and funny. It's fun to hear his comments and his remarks on everything that's going on. That's just, he's a very entertaining guy. Link to that channel right here. Click it soon, now or later. I think I'll put it in the description below so you can see it there too. But yeah, check out the channel. It's not his actual Josiah Clark TV channel. It is a new one. I think it's Heron Plays. I don't even know. I mean, I just read it and was like, oh, cool. I don't even care how to say or what that is. So, you know, happy Twilight Princess. So yeah, this has been Rttta, and I leave you with these two words.
Hey! Listen!
That radiant yellow, beautiful, just gorgeous subscribe button. It is just tempting. You need to click it. Click it. Click. Go. You need to click it. Click the button or else you'll have to reset the time and make sure the moon doesn't hit the clock town again. Time to click it. Oh boy, it's come. Click it. Click it. Click it. You might not even see it, but it'll come. You'll hear it. You'll hear it. It'll come. You're gonna have to grab your cursor and you're gonna have to bring that time thing back to the beginning of the subscribe button so you can click it again. You've got to click it. Before that, oh my gosh, you just died. You just killed. You see what you did there? You see what you did? All right, now reset the time. Reset the time. Go back. Click the button now.